Good afternoon. A warm welcome to all the panelists. Building bridges, that's a topic for today, and not walls. According to me, is a two-way process, both from an organization point of view and also by individuals. Why from an organization point of view? This helps to establish communication with an employee. When you have a large organization situated across the country in different geographies, communication is a must. The second, to acknowledge the value of each employee in establishing the success of organization. You may have an employee working in Siliguri. You may have an employee down south working in Mandya. Unless you understand and acknowledge the value, the uh, employee does not feel belong to the company. Thirdly, to motivate employees, and this must come from the heart. So this is from the organization point of view. What from an individual point of view, especially women? We all know women leaders face a glass cliff when they are advancing towards the highest level of an organization. They reach certain level, they hit the ceiling, and they don't go beyond. Is it because of the personal reasons? Is it because of the official reasons? And we all know about that. Importantly, during a crisis, organization wants leaders who show honesty, integrity, adaptability, and empathy. And this is, I am not saying this, there's the research with studies show that. And most importantly, these traits are more often being displayed by women. So why I'm saying this is women should know this, women should understand this. Organization are looking for women leaders. Networking lets women identify role models, find mentors, sponsors, and most importantly, expand their career opportunities. As they rise in their careers, they can also pay it forward by helping others who are behind them. Last but not the least, for the women, expand beyond your comfort zone. Just to give you an example, if you have a family and children, your shift timing is say 5 o'clock in the evening and you want to go home. And if your boss is available only at 5 o'clock in the evening, make that small amendments, make that small correction, ensure that you go and meet the boss because that connect is very, very important. While I'm sitting on a table in air conditioned room, I'm saying all this. I know it is easier said than done. What do problems women face? When women have children and they only see them on the weekends because they work full time. This happens in Mumbai. Suppose I stay in Vashi and I have to go all the way to work in Churchgate. I end up traveling 3-4 hours a day and see my child only at the weekends. But what happens? Many people throw their hands up and say she's abandoning her kids. But for the men, when they do the same, it's seen as perfectly normal because the men should work and the women should not be working. Women should give time for their families. So the topic for today's discussion is how do women build bridges? And this is going to be answered by our esteemed panelist, Anuradha from AstraZeneca, Rakshitha, Ford Business Solutions, and Reshmy from Synchrony. Welcome you all, ladies, for the show. And my first question, it's more out of curiosity. This goes to Rakshitha, Chief Fun Officer. This sounds very exciting. What fun you have in your organization? Now, how does this help women network, Rakshitha?
So we have a lot of events that we plan. In fact, that's how we have a kind of a calendar that we kind of work on. And also we have employee resource groups. So which is one of the employee resource group is called the Women in Ford. So Women of Ford. And we get external speakers and we try to mix fun into that and kind of have contests and everything. So that's the kind of like calendar we work with.
Right. No, it must be a big fun working in your organization. I understand.
I hope so. We are putting all the efforts.
Right. So my opening question to all of you, all of you can take this question one by one. Why should women network at all? Or should women network at all? Anuradha, maybe you can start and the others can take it.
Sure. Thank you for that, Sriram. Should women network? I think irrespective of the gender, we must. But I think as my experience that I've seen in the last couple of years, one thing that all women grapple with as we have so many changes in our personal lives is that we don't find time to network. I think the intent is there. I think the benefits of networking, be it in terms of what we want to gain in terms of knowledge, interactions, in terms of mentoring, we want to do that, but with the priorities that we list, I think we forget that sometimes. But taking it back to why, I've seen many women gain from being able to network, but we need to identify the purpose of why do we want to network, number one, and how can you not have a number of lists in your contacts, but high value networking if there is a specific need that you can associate on why do you want to network. Is it for a job? Is it just to gain expertise on a certain skill proficiency? Then you find out who's the right person who's had that skill or growth in your career, in your organization, I'm sorry, or outside the organization. If you're able to do that, I think it sets the tone for networking.
Great. Anuradha, what I hear is you're talking about effective networking. It's not that I network for the sake of networking. I need to know why I should network and have that points on top of my agenda. Thank you for that. Reshmy, you can take this question. Why should women network at all? You're on mute, Reshmy.
Good afternoon. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, yes, you are.
And thank you for the opportunity really to talk to you today. Very deep and detailed introduction to the topic itself. When I read the question, why should women network? I thought probably the question should be why network?
Yes.
The output of that function of networking is for anybody, and it's not even isolated to where we work, isn't it? If we move into a new locality, new apartment, we go out, find out what is the support system, who are the resources, key resources, most probably who is the best maid or house help to support us. So we by default, that's what we do. We all are aware of what that brings for us. And it is gender neutral. It is gender neutral. And we should definitely be networking. And the reason why we need to network is exactly what we is the lessons that we gain from life. Like we need it when we really need it. All of those key contacts. Right. Going back to what Anuradha said, it is exactly that. It is the effective networking. There are people among us who are extremely social. We see them in our personal lives too, who would like to be known to a mass of people. But there are also people among us who would just want to have the right contact with us because the little time we get to solve our problems, we need to get to the right person fast, fix a problem and get out, right? So yeah, and I sometimes feel when I read a line like, why should women network? And I'm just going to take it a step further. All of us, for the length of times we have spent in our spaces, we are very interested to move diverse talent forward.
Right.
And in that effort, sometimes we say these lines or sometimes drive some efforts which inadvertently drive bias. Like I sometimes feel there are training programs of a class for women to understand the goodness of networking, driving every quarter.
Right.
We as leaders inadvertently in that space just drove a bias. We're not aware, but that is exactly what we did, and why I know this is because in the organization I work for, Synchrony, they are very, very very conscious about it. Sometimes it'll feel like we are overdoing it because you're trying to put a program out there which will be checked by HR and legal and whatnot, and we're like, oh my gosh, when we say Tom, Dick, and Harry, they'd ask you where is the diversity in that, but hey, I didn't make the line. But yeah, I feel it is very good to be very cautious when we talk about some of these topics about not just isolated to network. The topic that you introduced, Sriram, why build bridges and not walls.
Yes,
is exactly that.
Thank you very much, Reshmy. The great point you made is it's not networking in your career or business. You're changing from one place to another. We need to network at our homes as well. I think this is a wonderful point. So why network? Where network? I think that's very important.
Yeah.
Over to you, Rakshitha. What do you think about this topic?
So why women should network? So I have a couple of points that I'd
Yeah.
like to discuss here. So
Yeah.
I think the first reason why women should network is to express your thoughts, and then you have an opportunity to learn and share. And I also suggest that practice difficult, discussing difficult issues. I feel
Right.
that's the need of the hour, and no pressure. Honestly, when we are all talking about it, no pressure whatsoever, because the beauty of creating our own network is that often there are no expectation or set structures in place, right?
Right.
So you are free to come along and just listen, take in what others have to say until perhaps you have that you feel that confidence, confident enough to contribute to that particular topic. And it should be a safe and confidential space where free from judgment and disregard, and space where you feel comforted and supported. There should not be any pressure to be, to do, or to say anything other than what feels right to you. I think that's what is the networking, right? And on an individual level, I feel that joining a professional network means stepping out of one's close circle. As you rightly said in the beginning, it's coming out of your own the bubble that you're in, right? And facing new people with different backgrounds, which can actually result in you never know, it can result in an important and lasting relationship. And also it might give you a major boost in confidence and capacity. So, and who wouldn't want that? You tell us. So I think it is,
Absolutely.
yeah, that's the reason I think all everyone should network.
I think I hear what you're saying is don't take pressure. Don't take as an item a laundry list that I have to network today or tomorrow. Put it as part of your curriculum. Once you do that, put it as a curriculum, it comes automatically. I think fantastic. Thank you for your opening remarks, all ladies. Now, is it difficult for women to network? Or how difficult is it for women to network? Reshmy, you can take this question.
Check mute.
Yeah, check.
How is a conversation these days complete without an unmute conversation?
Absolutely.
Yeah, how difficult. When I read that question, I paused for a bit. And I want to add a context here. I joined GE and stroke Synchrony, now working with Synchrony for 2 decades now. So this is the space I'm most familiar with, and this is all I know. So that'll be a context. That is the backdrop to almost all the answers or the topics that we're discussing today. I have not struggled with networking at work at all. Why I thought about the question for a bit is because I was asking myself, why not? Why didn't you struggle, right? And I feel it is to do with the culture that you get to work in. And also I wanna add this, like why is it difficult for women to network, right?
Yeah.
When I look back at my childhood, my growing up years, even today, right, in my personal life, the happy spaces are when we get together as a family, we celebrate a festival, when we are all together. And when I think about the key people who are driving it, it is my aunt, my great aunt, my grandmom, my mom. It's all the women in the family. They bring the warmth. If there is a resource constraint, they think so creatively to work around it. They go to great lengths to keep that unit together. Even some difficult conversations, why my uncle did not punch my nephew is probably, it's because a woman just stepped in and made sure that doesn't happen. So, and I don't think, how is it possible that they have these innate skills and then you put a badge around your neck and you swipe into a building that disappears? It doesn't happen. That's not possible, isn't it? This is what they really do for a living.
Right.
Not even figuratively, like really. So it shouldn't be difficult for women to network at all.
Right.
They come with that innate quality.
Thank you. What you're saying is it happens in our family. It happens all around us. Why can't we do it? Why should we not do it? Great. Rakshitha, I often hear that the ladies face a lot of challenge when they do that. Are there ways to overcome them? This happens at the beginning of the career and the midpoint of the career. Are there ways that they overcome and then say that I'll be able to do it as easily as possible, as Reshmy said?
I think let's talk about the challenges that we have, right? So I would like to talk about the challenges. What I feel that most people are, like most women are facing nowadays is that, one, lack of confidence. Second, thinking that you don't add value to that conversation. Or, there is an exclusion of women in all male hangout session,
Right.
how Lakshmi started in the beginning, right? So especially when you're not quite sure what are you missing out on? And, you need to be part of those social interactions. One factor I feel that is actually really important in network is the ability to get out there and approach strangers, build relationship and with new people, and potentially turn those relationship into something more, right? We need to build that confidence in ourselves because we have the potential and we have to believe it. After all, as we know, at its core, networking is all about building relationship.
Absolutely.
And also somewhere I read that, ki if the contacts, like, of women's network is like not as diverse as it seems, you may find herself in a kind of like, in an echo chamber, hurt, probably it might hurt us chances of success. So I feel that, you need to have diverse perspective to understand and how to negotiate and navigate in this world, and because you are held to a different standard altogether. And now talk about that, how do you get that unique experience or unique perspective, right? Now we need to expand our network, right? We need to diversify our network to a level where we are going beyond our company, profession, background, race, gender. Go beyond that. Don't have that barrier to start networking, and get started by finding and joining these new groups,
Right.
attending webinars, topics outside your field, join employee resource groups, and in your organization volunteer, take out time. As I'd like to say that, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's a connection that you're trying to build, and it's a constant effort, and it will take time, and don't rush it. Give that relationship time to develop organically, and believe it and own it. That's all I'd say.
Absolutely. I think I was about to ask this question to you and you replied it. If it is not possible, attend webinar, online sessions and training if required. And these are available today, and why not make use of it? I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anuradha, I have often heard from women that I have a family. At the same time, I'm career minded. I have ambitious targets. And I have to gel all the three. I am career minded, I'm ambitious, I have to take care of my kids, I have to take care of my family. Is it possible for a woman to manage this? And all of you have done this very successfully in your jobs, career, and you have risen to the top of various organizations. Your advice to women, how is it possible?
Sure. Thanks for that question, Sriram. I was looking, or rather reflecting on my own journey.
Right.
I think one thing is, can we ever be a superstar in managing all the three that come to us?
Right.
The answer is no. At a very early stage of my career, one of the things I learned attending one of similar webinars is make sure you ask for help. And that help could be, it could be from the people you live, it could be your spouse, your child, your in-laws, or your parents, right? Never hesitate to do that. Identify what is it that's going to make your life easier in either giving up or holding on to. I think we need to prioritize. So that's very, very important. Second thing, as a mother, and I'm taking an example again of when we go through the motherhood, one common thing that I've seen is we carry a lot of guilt because we're not able to spend time with, kids at home. So I think one of the things I've learned is, while you're managing all of this, not carry guilt, make time for yourself. That could be, going out for a movie with your friends, or going for a spa for yourself, and not feeling guilty about it. That's very important. And the last part is also, I think we as women need to remember that you play a role in every, role in the organization, at your home. So, as long as we remember when we are entering the home, your role of whatever you are stops right there. You got to be a good wife, a good mother, a good daughter-in-law as well, right? So not having those clear boundaries sometimes also makes it very, very challenging for us in managing everything at a time. But what are those roles that are important for you to play consistently every day. Remember that you got to do whatever you can in the limited number of time, and that kind of helped me manage it a lot better. Not hesitating, asking for help really helped get to where probably I am. And I think that unconditional support you get from the family is very, very key.
Absolutely. I think fantastic points, Anuradha. Asking for help is something which everybody should do, and do not hesitate. But the other point you made, I was reflecting upon myself, reward yourself. So I was going through an executive coaching session some time back. We were 8 people in the cohorts, and our coach asked us, how many times have you rewarded yourself for some good work you have done? None of us put their hands up. We never do that. We always reward others, whether it is in the office or home. And if you're playing a role of an housewife, mother, and a career woman, I think occasions to reward yourself is very, very important. Very well said. Thank you for that. Uh, Rakshitha, I think in your personal experience, you talked about that a bit. You must have faced certain hardships while you're networking. How did you navigate through that? Did you face hardships, and how did you navigate through that?
Yes, absolutely. I like to network, talk to people. For me, I would say that, the biggest obstacle was language. So
Right.
I'm born and brought up in Bangalore. I am, Karnataka. So Kannada is my first language that I prefer. And then you have English. So when I started working, I got promoted and transferred and landed up in Delhi. So Delhi, may you have Hindi, right?
Yep.
So I think being from South, we have that Southern accent, so South accent. So I was a laughing stock for the longest of time, but I took it as a challenge in terms of to learn a new language altogether. And there's no turning back since then. And this is the same thing happened when I shifted to Chennai. Also, it's been 7 years. The first thing that I did, learning from the past experience, the first thing that I did is learn the language. So now I know how to read, write, and manage Tamil. So I think from this entire experience, I would say that I'm proficient in 2 languages. So 2 more languages that I can add it in my, kitty.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think my experience is no different from you, Rakshitha. I went all the way from Chennai to Udaipur, and exactly the same problem. And I can write a book on how many mistakes I made in Hindi, and I stayed there for 7 years. And this is something everybody should learn. And as you rightly said, adapt to that place. If you have to live in that land, you have to learn Hindi. You learn Hindi, and I learned Mewadi as well, a bit of Mewadi as well, because that also helps. Fantastic. Anuradha, coming to you, we've been talking to a number of women, ladies during our the workshops we do. We were talking about networking and how do you build bridges. Someone told me, look, I try my best. 2 or 3 leaders I try to network, but they are not forthcoming. They are not supporting me. They are not encouraging me. So I give up. So I don't know how to do it. So what would be your advice based on the experience you've had and what you just stated?
Sure. One of the things I've seen work well in my current organization is, how do you state why you want to network with somebody? I'm going to take LinkedIn as an example. Many times we receive a lot of requests where you don't even know people, but when I'm able to see a very specific objective there to say, I'm sending you a request because I want to expand my HR network as an example, or I want to connect with you because I want to explore my business with you. I'm just taking an example.
Right.
That gives me a lot of clarity and I immediately accept. So I find a very similar thing in the organization.
Right.
When you're able to state very clearly, why do you need to network? Number one, what is the objective? What is the specific goal with which you're approaching them, and probably the time required? It'll set the tone. And assuming in this scenario where somebody hasn't been very forthcoming, I think nothing should stop us from writing back to that person and saying, hey, I know maybe you've missed this email. It's important that we continue to chase them, at least for a couple of times, because I'm sure, there are times that, in our work, we get so caught up, but being able to kind of get to that, stage where you don't give up, you keep trying. At least you've done it 2 or 3 times, and at least you're walking away not thinking that you didn't probably give it your best shot. is a good thing. And assuming still it doesn't give results, for whatever reason, you just pause, and move on to somebody else. Obviously, 2 or 3 tries doesn't mean it's the end of all. It's a very open network. And I think it would help us to pursue. And I just take an example of my mother.
Right.
I think she's a role model as far as my looking up to her for networking. Every locality that she's lived in, she's always built a network. She's so meticulous about it that every locality she goes, she would never hesitate to make a call, stay in touch with the people that she had built
Fantastic.
her own network. Do
Fantastic.
I do that? I don't do that because I think I don't have the time. But if somebody like my mom, who is just a 10th, probably pass out,
Right.
but her ability to do that meticulously every single time. Today, she has the opportunity to just pick up the call, a phone, and get something done, which I think I still don't, or rather haven't built. So I think staying meticulous, is very, very key. And your intent needs to be clear. You need to be authentic about it, right?
Fantastic.
As long as you're authentic, I think your networking goal will always, help you go a long way.
Fantastic. I think you gave a beautiful example. You don't need to have education. You need to have a graduate or post graduation or experience to network. All you need is do it meticulously. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep trying. The person may really be busy those 2 times. Rather than just giving up or taking a back seat, keep trying again. Fantastic. And a good point, Anuradha. You talked about authentic ways. I'm going to ask Reshmy. Can you suggest some authentic ways from your experience to expand the network?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I love that example.
Yeah.
I started with how women have that innate quality to just network. And you just stated that, this is exactly what I have seen in my household. They are
Right.
meticulous, they are authentic, they're honest, they're very clear why they are going out there and doing this. To bring the best for their family, the unit that they support, and uh, yeah, I think the best of networking classes come from home, not from work.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lucky for me, when I joined GE Stroke Synchrony, the organization definitely believes very strongly that it needs to support everybody at whatever stage of their career it is to help navigate. I guess Rakshitha talked about, I wrote down when she was talking about how to navigate your career, negotiate and navigate. That's the word.
Yes. Yes.
Navigate, yes. So initially, when I joined, you know just the job that, and I have to say, I joined as a call taker at the very entry level, right? Today, my title reads VP for Technology for Asia. It's a clear reflection of how strong the mentorship networking program that runs in the organization. Just one person, and I'm not unique in that space. I can talk about a number of my colleagues who have reached the same space through these, taking advantage of the program, right? So the organization really takes the responsibility to help you identify, because I really didn't know what are the skills I came with right out of college. What do I know? But there were mentors who would sit down with you, figure it out for yourself as a person. It is not a vanilla program,
Right.
it is very much tuned to each one's skill set. So it was identifying what you're good at, how that can help the business unit the business unit you are aligned to, and then is it something tangible you can actually put on the table and talk to other people about, right? And that is exactly how they have helped. So and the mentors who are helping me out knows the opportunity in other spaces. So in the beginning, it would be like, hey, you can make fancy PowerPoints. Let us see who else wants that. And then you go out there and look at that. And then later, it is like, looks like you can facilitate a class. You're always helping us. Why don't we go out and ask if anybody? I have actually made a career move on that,
Right.
like I went and facilitated a class. Next thing I know is get a call. Hey, listen, do you want to make a move? Because we desperately need somebody, right? And as you move through that particular path, and from my experience, what I have seen is that every leader, every business unit is so damn focused on success.
Right.
And they are very happy to work with a talent who will help fill that puzzle of theirs. They will have one slot where they need help, and they don't really look at gender, height, weight, color, none of it. If you can just come help them fill out that piece, that's what they're looking at. So I guess that's exactly how I have learned to like look at what is making me successful in my current job. Okay, it is this particular skill set. Does it help my business unit? Yes. Does anyone else need that help? Just talk to them. And let me tell you, there are some moves that I have made. Like I'm this call taker, right? Talking to customers and maybe know the platform I operate in. That is the beginning and end of it. But my mentor identified, hey, she can actually organize events. That's not something that comes. And I remember there are people who went out there and asked me, could you actually just bring that up and work like
Fantastic.
as a role itself? Like scared me to death. I was like, what? I mean, that's not, yeah, but the depth that brings in and the support of people who actually stand behind you. It's okay. You can, like when you're in the kitchen, why don't you fry a few dosas and burn your tea and, like make a few vessels go black and dark. We're still here. You're
Yeah.
okay, right? We're right behind you. I guess it is the strength of the programs that land in the organization. Because initially I didn't come with that,
Yeah.
right? I wouldn't know. And in the organizations are large, you can't just fathom to navigate, negotiate, and navigate, right? That's the word. But all by yourself. I have to put in my work, and on the top of that, doing the other thing doesn't come easily to everybody.
Correct. Correct.
And I'm very fortunate to be working in a space that gives me that.
Right.
I learned along the way. Now it's been 2 decades. So yeah.
Right. Great. So what you're saying is it may take a long time. Sometimes it's a slow burner, but once it starts coming, you get one after the another. So that's something which is fantastic and the wealth of experience speaking. So when you talk about women, Rakshitha, I women told me that by nature I'm an introvert, but I do my job and go. Networking is not my cup of tea, but at the same time, I want to rise in my career. How do I do it? I mean, you just talked about online courses. I'm sure that is not the only solution. I also want to develop my personality and more importantly, gain self-confidence to do this. So how do you think women can do this in a proper way?
So if you're an introvert, so I have many friends who are. So what I have noticed is that, they thrive in one-on-one conversation. They do have like a social anxiety, but in one-on-one conversation, they're the people who are, having that brain of that entire conversation, right? So I feel that, try to utilize those meetings when you're having that one-on-one, try to be, utilize those. And when you're being an introvert, you are more observant as
Right.
by nature, right? So that is actually the key quality of networking. Observe. So begin identifying the commonalities that you have with people that you talk to: sports, food, passion, favorite vacation destination, or like business interests. So after you start talking about it, now you know that you are going beyond that surface level conversation, and which is to basically find which is to find shared areas of interest to bond, right? So that's where you're going beyond it. So when you think like that, you'll know that it is not a small talk, and it's quite the opposite, right? I'd also like to mention that because you are observant, being an introvert, you are an observant, so you basically become part of that, be in the know, right? So you know what's happening around you, in the organization around you. You just know what's happening. So in a way, you are an information hub. Use that to your advantage, right? So when you are an information hub, what happens is that you become that person who everyone wants in their network. So you don't have to go; they will come to you, right?
Right.
And how do you do that? How do you even attract this? So probably, how do you know that you're an information hub? So I would say that start finding out what you know and what you need to improve on.
Right.
Catalog it, and into your information asset, right? Once you see your strength, and make sure that you can find ways to let others other incorporate those skills into their work habit. Like, as I mentioned, that being observant is number one. And secondly, by default, that you will find that common ground because you're observant.
Right.
That is a main habit, main key thing, that quality that you need to have. And you will become a resource, and positively, possibly even a mentor later. This is what I'm talking about, is that your leadership brand, that you're building it. And I think too much jargon there. So I would say that, start small. Let's
Right.
go back. Let's go back, rewind everything, start small, take one step at a time, and eventually you will get there. However, my suggestion is start today. Research at least 3 meaningful networking events or groups. Get yourself invited, go out there. Don't wait.
Right, right, right. So what I hear you, Rakshitha, is what you're saying is it's not career business alone. Find out the other interests. There are varieties of interests people have. Find out the commonalities. Strike a conversation. I saw Anuradha nodding her head, to what you said. Do you want to add anything, Anuradha, to this?
I think Rakshitha covered most of it, and I've
Right.
seen how people thrive on that one-to-one. So I think
Right.
that's really the crux of how they get energy from just that one-on-one, So I think she covered it very well. No
Right.
additional points, Sriram.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, Reshmy, you talked about mentors. You said that, you have to identify mentors and sponsors, right? So if an organization is not, this again, whatever I am seeking is this practical thing, which I heard from many women. She
Yeah.
said, no, my organization is not providing mentors or sponsors. I tried my best. So how does a woman identify a mentor? It could be within the organization, outside the organization. Are there any skill sets or traits she has to look for to identify the right mentor for her career progression? Rashmi?
Yeah, I read that sometimes you come across a line and then you have to pause and be thankful and grateful for what you
Right.
have in life. Actually, I read that line, and you're always so much neck deep in your work, and I just
Yeah.
stopped and I paused and I was like, thank God, I'm where I am, right? Because lack of that support is even in a small family unit, when you start off as a child, as a while you grow up, it's the people who know the world who actually help you navigate through what you need to do, what to watch out for, what is good, what is bad. You don't come with that as you grow. Exactly the same at work too, isn't it?
Right.
um and I guess I can talk about a number of diversity networks that is set up in the organization itself,
Right.
which actually helped me, helped a lot of us get through this maze,
Right.
right? And the good part is it is not just women's, of course, we have women's network, but we also have veterans network. We have LGBTQ, and we have PDN, and the organization strongly believes what is not measured cannot be delivered, of course. So there are goals and metrics, and I can say that the diversity percentage at the organization stands at 47%. We have
Right.
hired 60% diverse talent this year, about 100 plus PDN co-workers, colleagues, 25 of veterans. And I should tell you, I'd stop and tell you, I'm not a part of any of these. I'm one of the 4,000 employees. And how I know this, like I can just rattle off these numbers, is because that's how deep and intense this runs, right? It's an intentional move in steps that is taken by the organization, right? So yeah, if for me personally, it is, and for my colleagues as well, I should say, the first step is being identified as you as a person, not, and your contribution not lost in translation, and how you bring value to whatever you bring to work. The moment we get that warmth, support, all of that, and it is not gender specific at all. It's
Right.
gender, right? And then we are so close to being like a family, and that unit, because in this world there is no end to chasing wages, chasing titles, chasing corner offices, chasing fancy things. There is no end.
Right.
But there is no substitute to feeling family.
Fantastic.
Can't bring
Fantastic.
right?
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you, Reshmy. I think fantastic points. So I'll ask the last question to Anuradha for the session. There are a lot of second career women. There's a lot of focus on organization, second career women to come back to their jobs. You know, they haven't worked for 5 years because of family, maternity, marriage, or whatever it is. How do these women find their feet in the organization? Many of them lack confidence. Again, to get back to Reshmy, finding mentors, sponsor is one way. But are there any other thing? You have done it yourself and your colleagues have done it. So how do you help these women find their feet to move up in the organization?
Sure. I must say that in the definition of second career, I probably qualify for that.
Right.
Many years ago, when I took a maternity break and I was coming back, we didn't have this terminology, but um, with this definition now becoming so much more popular, I could, bucket myself. But I think there's no shortcut for it. I
Right.
think you got to continue to do a lot of hard work, because you're balancing so many things at the same time. But as long as I think, one is able to progress very clearly on what does it take for us to be successful, that success needs to be defined by us. Is it financial success? Is it a career success? Is it actually balancing all the three? Because sometimes we do have to compromise in certain ways. But if you're able to handle opportunities that come your way, and for me, I'm just reflecting on what worked for me very well was never to say no for any opportunity that came my way,
Right.
and to deal with confidence. And can I say I always had confidence? Honestly, no. There are so many things that you learn. It's a journey that you take of building your own skills, and you got to deal with things, being very patient, persevere as you get to, climb your career ladder. So I don't think everyone's journey is similar, obviously, but I think the key things are, how are we able to be confident? How are we able to also leave back things that don't matter at work? There are many times I've seen at workplace that, women tend to break down. I've seen women
Yeah.
breaking down in washrooms.
Yeah.
The emotional part of them not being able to balance
Right.
actually plays a hindrance in us as women coming back to work. So knowing very clearly, setting ourselves for success is very, very important, and taking on that journey, I think the rest will fall in place. But just being aware, self-aware, investing in yourself is the key.
Fantastic, fantastic, Anuradha. Thank you very much, ladies. I think it's a wealth of experience speaking. I'm sure the viewers, all the women who are watching this program, men watching this program, are here to gain and to support these women who are trying to raise them, mentor them, play the role of an ally, support them, help these women rise in their career. I think we'll be doing a world of good for this organization, for your organization, for yourself as well. Just to sum up what you said, ladies, is Adler Group and LinkedIn have done a joint study, and they said 85% of the jobs are filled through networking, which means this activity ultimately benefits everyone. I read a simple piece from Pope Francis. Pope said, in a religious context, but I'm extending this to our context, business context. He said, take a pencil and paper, write names of just 10 people whom you work frequently, and how many times you have connected with them, how many times you have interacted with them. You are listening, your experience. Many times you'll find you're hardly connected with 3 or 4 people. When you're building bridges of trust, if you've forgotten somebody, please note that. This is a very simplest exercise you can do. If I have to extend this further, let us do the same people for people whom do not work in the company, as you are saying. It's not business alone. At least 2 to 3 times a year, contact them. Send them an article, interesting article. Talk about a book. Ask them for a coffee. And more importantly, if they call you, make yourself available so that you open the doors. Because what I believe and what is even told in a lot of studies is doors will open in a magical fashion. And that's what we need to believe. And that's what we need to do it. And what we need to ask ourselves every day, did I put at least one brick into the construction of a bridge? Because as you all rightly said, these bridges are built very, very gradually. But these bridges will last forever. And that is the power of network. And when it lasts forever, they are going to open up to new roads and possibilities. Majority of the jobs are based on knowledge and confidence that we have built. But what we mistake is we elegantly write a CV designed by an agent or somebody. CV is going to only speak so much. Our reputation will always precede us. So keeping all this in mind, I wish you all the best. A big thank you to all the three panelists, Reshmy, Rakshitha, Anuradha. I think thank you very much. I think it is a great session. It's a great learning for all of us. Personally, I have learned a lot from you, from your wealth of experience. I'm sure the viewers would have also learned, and wish you all the best. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.